Michigan is a land of iron and water, where the ruins of industry stand as monuments to forgotten lives, and the inland lakes hold secrets far deeper than their calm surfaces suggest. From ghost towns abandoned to the forest, to waterfronts where voices echo long after the living are gone, the state carries more than just history, it carries unfinished stories. Tonight, we descend into its most chilling places, where silence is deceptive, shadows linger too long, and the past refuses to rest. Would you dare follow me into Michigan's haunted heart? 1 Pere Cheney, Crawford County, Michigan. Deep in the forests of northern Michigan lies a place so cursed that locals call it the state's most haunted ghost town. Pere Cheney was once a lumber settlement in the late 1800s, but tragedy seemed to stalk it at every turn. A series of devastating fires swept through the town, and waves of diphtheria and smallpox claimed hundreds of lives. By the early 20th century, the town was abandoned, left to rot beneath the trees. All that remains is a small cemetery, its crooked stones half swallowed by moss. But those who venture here say the dead are far from silent. Visitors report glowing orbs weaving between the trees, phantom children's laughter echoing in the dark, and shadows moving against the moonlight where no one stands. The most infamous legend tells of a witch, blamed for the town's misfortunes and executed by angry settlers. They say her spirit still roams the cemetery, cursing anyone who dares disturb her rest. Paranormal investigators have recorded eerie EVPs of women's voices pleading, screaming a maubut or whispering warnings. Some who come here feel sudden illness, dizziness, or overwhelming dread as if the land itself is rejecting them. Drivers claim their cars stall at the edge of the cemetery, refusing to start until the silence has been endured. Pere Cheney is more than a ghost town. It's a wound in the earth, a reminder that some places do not forgive, and some curses are never lifted. 2 River Raisin Battlefield, Monroe, Michigan. The ground here is soaked with blood. In January 1813, during the War of 1812, one of the most brutal massacres on American soil took place along the River Raisin. Hundreds of Kentucky soldiers were slaughtered, many executed after they had surrendered. The battlefield is now a national historic site, but the violence of that day seems to echo still. Locals say the cries of dying soldiers can still be heard at dusk, drifting through the fields like a mournful chorus. Visitors have reported seeing uniformed figures wandering the grounds, their faces pale and hollow, their movements repetitive, men locked in the final moments of their suffering. Cold winds sweep the area suddenly, chilling even on summer days, as though the battlefield itself breathes with grief. One chilling story involves a man who visited the site late one evening. He claimed to see lanterns bobbing across the field, as if carried by patrols of long-dead soldiers. When he approached, the lights vanished into thin air, leaving only silence and the uneasy sense that dozens of eyes were fixed on him. The River Raisin holds more than history. It holds the restless dead, still demanding to be remembered for the price they paid. Choix, Seul, Lighthouse, Gulliver, Michigan. The winds off Lake Michigan carry a saltless bite, and at Seul, Lighthouse, the waves slam against the rocky shore with unrelenting force. Built in 1892, the lighthouse was meant to be a beacon of safety, but it has become a monument to one man's refusal to leave. Captain Joseph Willie Townsend, a former keeper, died in the lighthouse in the early 1900s. His body was embalmed in the basement until it could be buried. But according to lore, he never truly left. Visitors today claim to smell cigar smoke drifting through the air, Townsend's favorite indulgence. Even when the lighthouse is locked, the scent lingers, impossible to explain. Tourists have seen his figure in the windows, a shadow pacing the keeper's quarters. Others tell of hearing footsteps climbing the spiral staircase at night, followed by the creak of a door opening above. Paranormal teams have captured unexplained voices on recorders, low and gruff, warning them to leave. For those who climb the lighthouse tower, the view is breathtaking, but many describe the overwhelming sensation of being watched, as though the captain himself is making sure no one forgets who once kept this light alive. 4. Henderson Castle, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Perched high on West Main Hill, the Henderson Castle looks like something torn from a Gothic novel. Built in 1895 by businessman Frank Henderson, the castle boasts turrets, stained glass, and opulent rooms. Today it operates as a bed and breakfast, but guests soon realize they are sharing the castle with more than luxury. Many visitors speak of footsteps echoing through the hallways at night, doors opening by themselves, and the faint sound of laughter drifting from empty rooms. The ghost most often seen is that of Frank Henderson himself, still wandering the home he dreamed into existence. Guests have spotted him near the grand staircase, pausing as if inspecting his guests. There are others. A woman in Victorian dress has appeared in mirrors, vanishing when noticed. Some claim to see children playing in the halls, their laughter quickly turning to whispers. The wine cellar is said to be the most active spot. Glasses clink in the dark, and shadows shift against the stone walls as though unseen company lingers nearby. Staying overnight in Henderson Castle feels less like a getaway and more like an invitation to step into a place where time and the people who lived here never quite let go. 5. Paulding Light, Watersmeet, Michigan. On a lonely stretch of road near Watersmeet, travelers gather after dark, waiting for something that cannot be explained. Locals call it the Paulding Light, a mysterious glowing orb that appears in the distance, hovering and swaying in the night air. It has been witnessed for decades, and while scientists have suggested car headlights as an explanation, those who've stood in its presence insist it is something else entirely. The light dances with an intelligence of its own. Sometimes it changes color, from white to red to green. Sometimes it splits into several orbs before vanishing. Legend claims it is the lantern of a railroad brakeman who died while trying to stop an oncoming train. Others say it is the restless soul of a native spirit, guarding the valley. Eyewitnesses describe more than just a light. Some feel the temperature drop as it nears, the forest growing unnaturally silent. A hunter once claimed the orb passed directly overhead, illuminating the trees as though the forest itself was glowing. Skeptics may laugh, but believers keep returning, night after night, to glimpse what has become one of Michigan's most enduring mysteries. If you ever go, remember when the orb drifts closer. Some say it is not merely light, it is a soul searching for company. 6. The Whitney Restaurant, Detroit, Michigan. Detroit's Midtown hides a mansion that glows with grandeur and menace in equal measure. Built in 1894 by lumber baron David Whitney Jr., this 21,000 square foot home now serves as one of the city's finest restaurants. Yet beneath the polished tables and chandeliers, the Whitney's legacy is darker than its elegance suggests. Staff and guests whisper about strange encounters, elevators that move on their own, cold spots in otherwise warm rooms, and mirrors that seem to ripple with shapes that shouldn't be there. A waiter once reported setting down glasses in the empty ballroom, only to return moments later and find them rearranged in a perfect circle. Others claim to hear piano notes drifting from the music room, though the keys sit untouched. The figure most often seen is that of David Whitney himself, still roaming the halls of the mansion he built. His apparition has been spotted near the grand staircase, silently observing as though ensuring his fortune's legacy remains untarnished. But he is not alone. Visitors speak of a woman in white, possibly his wife, wandering the upper floors. Sometimes she appears in reflections, standing just behind you. Would you dare dine in a place where the owners never truly left the table? And on Lake Superior Shipwrecks, Whitefish Point, Michigan. They call it the graveyard of the Great Lakes. The waters of Lake Superior, vast and cold, conceal more than 350 shipwrecks. The most famous is the Edmund Fitzgerald, a freighter that sank in 1975 with 29 men aboard, swallowed whole by a sudden November storm. No one survived, and their bodies were never recovered. Standing on the shore near Whitefish Point, where the waves crash violently, many visitors say the air feels heavier. Fishermen claim to hear voices carried on the wind shouted warnings, desperate cries, even the sound of bells tolling beneath the waves. The Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum itself is steeped in unease. Staff have heard footsteps echoing in locked halls, and some report wet boot prints leading across the floors, only to vanish. Divers who've explored the sunken ships tell of unnerving encounters, sudden drops in temperature, or the feeling of invisible hands tugging at their gear. Some refuse to dive again after seeing figures still at their posts in the cabins, watching silently as if trapped between drowning and duty. When the lake churns at night and the wind moans across the dunes, you can almost imagine those lost sailors rising again, their silhouettes flickering across the whitecaps, forever searching for the shore they never reached. Eloise Asylum, Westland, Michigan. The name alone, Eloise, still chills those who know its history. Once one of the largest psychiatric hospitals in the United States, Eloise began in the 1830s as a poorhouse and grew into a sprawling institution with over 70 buildings. Within its walls were the lost, the unwanted, and the mentally ill, subjected to treatments that bordered on torture, electroshock, insulin shock therapy, and solitary confinement in padded rooms. Now, only a few buildings remain, but their silence is not empty. Paranormal investigators report disembodied screams in the tunnels, whispers from unseen mouths, and shadows darting across walls even when no light could cast them. Security guards tell of footsteps following them through the abandoned hallways. The sound of wheelchairs squeaking along linoleum long since stripped bare. One urban explorer recounted standing in a ward when a heavy door slammed shut behind him, though the air was still and no one else was inside. Others claim to hear the wail of children, a tragic echo of the asylum's pediatric wing. The most unsettling detail, the Eloise Cemetery holds over 7,000 unmarked graves, each belonging to someone who entered but never left. As you walk the grounds, the weight of forgotten lives presses in, and you can't help but wonder, are they trying to be remembered, or trying to escape? Newen, Mackinac Island, Mackinac County, Michigan. The ferry ride to Mackinac Island feels like a crossing into another world. The island, with its Victorian homes, horse-drawn carriages, and quiet forests, hides a history darker than its postcard charm. Before the settlers arrived, this was sacred ground to native tribes, believed to be a resting place for spirits. Later, it became a fortress during bloody battles, and its cemeteries tell stories of disease, war, and sudden death. Guests at the island's grand hotels often report more than just luxury. At Mission Point Resort, some claim to see the figure of a heartbroken student who took his own life in the 1960s. Now wandering the grounds in eternal despair, doors slam without cause, furniture drags across empty room, and voices murmur in the stillness. At Fort Mackinac, soldiers in faded uniforms are said to march silently across the parade grounds, reenacting drills for an audience only they can see. But perhaps the most haunting is the land itself. Travelers walking the wooded trails at dusk often feel watched. The wind carries whispers in languages long forgotten, and some have seen lights flicker between the trees, like lanterns carried by unseen hands. On Mackinac Island, beauty is only a veil. Beneath it lies centuries of restless dead, reminding visitors that paradise can also be purgatory. 10 Fayette Ghost Town, Garden, Michigan. You walk among weathered stone buildings, their windows empty like sockets in a skull. The old iron smelting town of Fayette was once alive with the fire of furnaces and the clatter of workers. From 1867 to 1891, it smelted ore into pig iron, fueling the nation's expansion. But when the iron ran dry, the town was abandoned. What remains today is a museum of decay, crumbling limestone structures overlooking the dark waters of Lake Michigan's Snail Shell Harbor. Visitors whisper about the voices that carry on the wind. A ranger once reported hearing boots crunching over gravel behind him, yet when he turned, there was only the hollow road leading to the foundry. Some claim to see shadowed men moving along the shore, hauling invisible loads. At night, the clang of hammers echoes faintly, as though the furnaces never went cold. The most unsettling stories are of the lake itself. Local legends say drowned workers rise on moonlit nights, their dripping figures seen staggering between the ruins before dissolving into mist. And if you linger too long by the furnace ruins, some swear you'll taste ash on your tongue, as though the air still remembers the smoke of industry. Fayette isn't just a ghost town, it's a stage where the dead still work, endlessly repeating the motions of a life that abandoned them. Michigan's haunted places tell stories of industry abandoned, waters that guard their dead, and towns swallowed by curse and decay. Each site whispers of unfinished business, of restless souls trapped between memory and oblivion. Whether it's a glowing light on a desolate road, a castle echoing with laughter long silenced, or a ghost town where curses still linger, Michigan reminds us that history doesn't always stay buried. Would you dare walk these paths at night, knowing the shadows might be more than they appear? That's all for today. If you enjoyed this chilling journey, don't forget to like, comment with your favorite haunted location, and subscribe for more weekly videos from the shadows.